Hast thou seen the Pleiades? Hast thou seen the bands of Orion? Hast thou beheld creation's fire? Then thou hast seen victory. Mighty is the fire of creation touched by the hand of God. And every earth peals forth her note of beauty in the orchestration of our Father, your God and my God. I am victory, and victory belongs unto you. I am the servant of mankind in the name of God, and I desire to serve you in obtaining that priceless heritage which God has reserved for those who love him enough to win their fight against all the forces of opposition that would tear from them their wings of light that God has given to all that they may rise. Be still and know your own I am presence. Be still and know the great source, for the cosmic clock shall not become unwound. The great life power of universal law will continue the creative round, and those who drop out of the holy place which God has reserved for them, the place of sacred uniqueness, which is the unity between man and all creation, will but be wandering stars to whom is reserved the mist of darkness forever. For the light of God does not fail, and if men choose to deny the possibility of their own freedom and victory, it is man who walks into the dark, and I declare it, they shall not take God with them, for the Lord dwelleth in the light, and the secret place of the Most High God is the place of light. And the soul of man is intended to be a palace of light, twinkling with myriad magnificent stars of consciousness. You recall in the enigma of Revelation, the revelation of John the Beloved, how that the angelic beings are often compared to mighty stars. Let me tell you of the star focus of your divine presence within you. Let me tell you of your mighty threefold flame, which may to some of you appear but as a remote place upon the map of being. But, oh precious ones, when the realities of life, the mighty realities, become interpreted by the soul as it ascends to the fount of divine wisdom and obtains the sacred keys, the revelations that you will receive about yourself, and I say this to you all, is so magnificent as to compel you to gaze forward, for you will no longer desire to look at former things, for former things shall have passed away, and all things shall be ever new joy, as the face of victory is turned to you, and you are aware of the mighty purposes of creation within the fount of light within thy mind, the fount of illumination that makes of the finite mind the mind of God, and makes of mortal mind the mind of Christ by the transforming power of the Holy Spirit. Do you realize, precious ones, that on this day throughout the land, when mankind are shooting off their rockets and are exploding various devices in order to celebrate the occasion of the 4th of July, of independence for the nation America, that God himself is also engaged in the practice of celebrating the independence of man from all forms of self-created tyranny. For it was an act of God that in the early days of this nation America interceded between roughshod men and women and caused them to have the stamina, the courage, and the will to victory for the 13 sovereign states. You must understand then, precious ones, how that the power of God entered into the hearts of these men to formulate a rising courage in the face of an entrenched tyranny and a mighty temporal power. You must understand that there was a unity between the hearts of the individuals who dwelled in the different states of that blessed union. You must understand then, precious ones, how that today, with the passing of time and the remoteness of past historical events to the mind of present-day man, much of the glory and of the power, much of the struggle and the winning has been bypassed, so that the youth today, and even, I am sorry to say, some of those who are more mature, have lost sight, unfortunately, of the struggles that were necessary in the winning of victory for the nation America. You must understand then that the spiritual struggle, which is of such cosmic worth, must go on, and that high resolves must not become merely crystallized mental thought, but they must become vitalized cosmic action. You must recognize that as great cosmic beings and mighty masters of wisdom came down unto the planet itself, and in some cases spoke directly through the voices of the men of that time, and reinforced their courage by directly moving their lips to speak the words of God and of liberty, so in this day and age and in all times there is always some point of contact between the higher octaves and the planet itself. Else the light would go out, else darkness would come, else the vanities of men would so smother the flame that there would be no oxygen to supply it and to assure it a continued existence. The flame today requires the fanning of many sons of freedom and liberty. You are sparks of freedom intended by God to function not only in the social, political domain, but also in the spiritual domain, and most especially there, where you can help to quicken the sons of earth who have lost their way, to show them the pathway that leads to the mansions of light that are above, ever above. You must understand the pull of the senseless activities that in this present age are causing discouragement to mankind and a multiplication of the terrors of the dark. You must understand how that these things are generated, as the old man of the hills told you, by a reaction from the powers of darkness lashing out against the spiritual forces of light, the spiritual powers of light that would regenerate mankind and bring in the golden age, the forces and powers of shadow functioning behind the flesh forms of individuals by tricking their minds and emotions, have today created a commercial gargantua which threatens to engulf the entire planet with an opposing contradictory force to the socially and communistic-minded countries of the world, directly in order to bring about the destruction of the world society. They do not care, my beloved brothers and sisters, whether or not they destroy the earth. They do not care whether or not they create chaos. They do not care whether or not the Spirit of Christ is fashioned in this day, and the great carpenter of Nazareth is able to build and reconstruct a new world. Nay, they would prefer a shambles, which would mean the utter destruction of all planetary life. They would rejoice in the destruction of mankind. For I want you to remember that if they were able to destroy the life that you now have upon this planet and to leave mankind to abide in other realms outside the body, in, so to speak, the naked state of their souls, it would come to pass that there would indeed be a gnashing of teeth, for there would not be enough individuals left upon the planet to assure mankind re-embodiment for centuries, and many would have to wait in the great wings of the stage of life until the earth could be rebuilded gradually. Also, there is the possibility, if their activity should become ultra-destructive, that they would completely render the earth uninhabitable for so many generations that it would be necessary to transfer the life waves of this planet to another home and to start mankind all over again in the arduous business of mastering life as you know it, from the age of prehistoric man unto the present day. Look you well then to your victory. Look you well then to your life. It may seem to you to be as but a firefly flitting across the swamps of life, and you may say, but in a few short years I shall be no more in this embodiment as myself. Let me tell you, precious ones, that life is precious. Let me tell you, precious ones, that the gathering of opportunity is the summation of your life. Let me tell you that if you were to see the activity at inner levels that accompanied your own birth, your natal day, you would realize that there was a universal conspiration for the manifestation of each one of you that caused you to come forth into this realm, to gather all of the substance of previous embodiments and focus all of that within the records of Akasha and tie that to your four lower bodies, that you might move here to take advantage of cosmic opportunities and to understand the need to draw yourselves into the fullness of cosmic purpose, to fulfill the divine plan, the purposes of your All-Father. Wise then is the one who understands the need to perpetuate and preserve life wherever possible, so long as possible, because each individual life is sacred, and sacred is the opportunity that gave you birth. Sacred is the opportunity that gives you the opportunity to win your victory. And you must understand then that it is up to you to reinforce the great power of life within form, for life within form has purpose. Life within form has divine purpose. While it is true that it is intended to be a schoolroom opportunity whereby you can master experience here and win your victory into higher realms where you will require not this fleshly body, but a new body of light. Yet, until you have won your perfection, I assure you that you have a need for a flesh form, and therefore do not lightly consider the possibility of discarding that form which God and the elementals have so carefully and beautifully builded. You must understand that your body, which is the temple of God, houses an immortal soul intended to become, as your own Master Moria is, an illustrious being of light. If then you are to understand correctly your destiny, you will esteem cosmic purpose for yourselves individually. Oh, how treacherous is the thought And I assure you that we teach this in our schools upon Venus. How treacherous is the thought that would rob from man his immortal birthright and make him to feel belittled. Belittlement is one of the most horrible and awful, one of the most treacherous forces that has ever been generated in the universe by the nefarious consciousness of the sons of darkness. Let me point out to you then that you should never attempt to belittle any individual upon this planet, but to raise mankind up. For so do ye the work of the Venusian masters, and so do ye the work of the Lord Christ. The work of raising mankind up is perpetual, and the help that cometh through you, both day and night, is a work of magnitude that spans the foreverness of God. You must recognize that you are co-workers and co-servers with the powers of light, for so it was intended. You must recognize that you are children of cosmic love, for so it was intended. You must recognize that your destiny is absolute mastery of self and the power to walk the earth as a God, fashioned in the very image of God, for so was it intended. You must recognize that you were intended to be the fullness of all that God is. And if this seemeth unto you to be so high that you cannot imagine yourselves in that role, then call unto me, and I will give you my momentum of victory, which overcometh the world and all of its thoughts of belittlement and smallness, all of its thoughts of limitation, that seems to squeeze you into the mold of finite qualities. I am victory, and I tell you that your victory is at hand. I am victory, and I tell you that the powers of light and the cosmic councils are determined that mankind shall escape from the awful traps which have been laid to rob them of many of their rightful powers, the power to escape from all of the traps that have been laid in past generations, regardless as to whether or not they were karmically involved, the power to escape into the great temple of mercy at Peking, to understand that Kuan Yin there sits this very hour and meditates as to how she can draw upon the souls of men, that she may draw them to her and send them forth as sons and daughters into the world to create the quality of mercy and sustain that quality in life until all of the cruelty is taken out of man, transmuted from his consciousness, and he is set free. Won't you please be seated? Oh, gracious one, how lovely is the spirit of overcoming. These are they that have overcome. These are they that have overcome. These are they that have overcome. What have they overcome? Mortal thought, density, the accretion and accumulation of years of wrong sowing. If this be true, then we give no power to the opposition, but recognize it you must. You must recognize it by turning unto us with each thrust that they make against you. If you cleave unto us, if you hold our hand, if you enter our consciousness, if you permit your consciousness to enter ours, if there is unity between us, then I do not think any power in heaven and earth can separate you from the love of God. But you must understand that every positive statement requires the reinforcement of the power of action within your world. You must understand that it is not enough for us to utter a statement for and on behalf of your victory unless you accept that statement and believe it, unless you act upon it and are tied to it and united to it. This is one of the reasons, precious ones, why down through the centuries and even as late as your time, even 20 and 40 years past, various dictations have come forth from our realm and octave, which have promised unto mankind their victory, and given to mankind certain inalienable rights, which are indeed given to them, but which they have not claimed. I want you to know, precious ones, that we have made our promises, and we have fulfilled every one of them. But there has been, and always will be, a dual tie to all promises. We may make our promises, but they are not without certain conditions which must be met by unascended mankind. You do not think, surely, that we are required to make you a promise to give you our support and assistance, and then turn around and function at your level to receive that promise, do you? You certainly do not expect that we shall give to you our energy and our love, and then also move your hands to take it. I tell you, you have a very definite responsibility, and it has been and still is the lack of mankind's awareness of this, whereby they expect us to perform for them, and they expect Almighty God to perform for them all of the acts which He has given to them to perform for themselves by volens, 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 will, will. And it is will that must be generated within you for strength, 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 and power, 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 until you will become masters of yourself, rather than be mastered by outer conditions which will bring you into bondage and keep you there if you do not watch out. You have heard it said that certain parents would frighten their children by the statement that goblins will get you if you don't watch out. Well, I want to tell you today that these things are more or less true, but the goblins are within the consciousness of men, and they ought to be vanquished therefrom by the immortal power of victory. Teach your children that they are required by the law of God to serve with alacrity, to understand, as Samuel did of old, that when God speaks, men must answer. The compelling power of universal law is resident within mankind, but it will not act unless men call it into action. God has implanted a certain segment of Himself within you, which is a seed of spiritual will, and every quality of God is within you. But you do not realize it. It passes unnoticed and unrecognized while you look at the weaknesses of yourselves and say, this is I. It is not yourself. It has no part of you. And I tell you today that if you do not rid yourself of those concepts, you will be placing yourself in the realm of stultification and stratification, and mankind will type you, and they will say, this is that individual, and it will be so, and they will cast you in a mold, and it will be true, because you have done nothing to take yourselves out of that mold. Therefore, because the time is short, and the power of light demands it, and the great cosmic law requires it, today, I tell you that we are hopeful that we will find even in this audience, as well as in the student body who will hear these words and read them, those responsive individuals who will have the faith in my statements, for I come from a mighty evolution of cosmic beings, and from the realm where dwell the holy 7 Kumaras upon Venus, and I know whereof I speak. I know whereof I speak. I know whereof I speak. For the great council at Darjeeling, the Royal Teton Council, and all of the councils of the Great White Brotherhood, including the mighty council upon the Pleiades, have determined that the earth shall receive, as it were, the flash of a comet's tail of cosmic dust, which shall activate among mankind some of the divine principles, which will then come forward to be redeemed. Those who do not redeem them may find that the power will act in reverse, and that they will turn somewhat the other way. It will be almost a reactive power. But we are determined to do this because it is necessary, because the time is short for the era of the golden age to now be brought in by those who have the wisdom to build it, that we must call mankind out of their lethargy and make them aware of the need to establish their victory within themselves as a focus of immortal light, which we can use, and use it quickly. You cannot know. It is impossible for you to know the energy the ascended masters have expended down through the centuries. And I tell you, it is impossible for you to know the energy that your Saint Germain has expended in this class, although he did not speak upon the program to generate within your blessed hearts some of the wondrous momentum of freedom which He has, and which you need, and which the law requires that you keep. I say to you then today, in the name of Almighty God, do not let this class pass without making the resolve within yourselves which cannot be broken. And note the word resolve. It means to resolve your problems. It means to overcome the conditions that have brought unhappiness into your world. It means to make a determination that your own pursuit of happiness and life will bear some fruit upon the tree of life as well as upon the tree of liberty. Men want liberty, they want freedom, and they desire it, and they command it to come forth. But I tell you, one of the most important things for them to do is to recognize the responsibility they have toward liberty and freedom, to see that liberty and freedom are keyed into the vibratory action of life. And life is God, and God is law, and God is love. I hear people saying we have patience when they have none. I hear people saying we have love when they exhibit no love. I hear people say we are children and students of the light when they have little light, and the light that is in them is but darkness. The time is past when mankind can go on fooling themselves year after year. This is a year of victory by the power of divine love, and you better get rid of all of the conditions that are affecting your world, your health, your mind, and your status in life if you want to obtain your victory, or the first thing you know, the sands in the hourglass will have run out, and we will have no one to represent us, no one to carry our torch, no one to guide mankind, who dwelling in a darkened world of abomination and desolation will find life not worth living. I tell you then, this is the hour of decision. I tell you this is the hour of affectation, not the affectation of little mortal things that do nothing for your soul, but the affectation of eternity. And if you are able today to see the Pleiades in all of their brilliance and glory, to see the great temples of the brotherhood, even at Shambhala, to enter into the vibratory action of God in the secret and sacred places of the earth that you have never been, I tell you, your hearts would beat with pride and joy in all the creation, and there would be no mutterings against the mighty God and the Prince of Peace, but only the receptive, humble attitude that would say, "Oh, by my God, let me live. Oh, by my God, let me give. Oh, by my God, let me strive. Oh, by my God, I am alive." Don't you see, precious ones, what your victory means? Your victory means everything to you. Your victory is your life. It is all of the divine plan fulfilled for all of the centuries of striving. Every angelic being has labored for this. Everyone has strained until the very ropes themselves that connect with the higher octaves are taut and tense with the hope of glory. Cosmic exhilaration flows over this great network, and yet responses are little. Let me see a change in you. Let me see a change in you. Let God see a change in you. He created you. Let Saint Germain see a change in you. He sustains you. Let Jesus see a change in you. He gave everything that mankind might have, his teachings and his life. I tell you, the day is here when you must recognize that God has thundered as from Horeb's height, and thundered in your midst. You may hear a mighty peal of thunder, and I tell you it is the mighty thunder of the apocalypse. It is the coming forth of the four horsemen. And I tell you that you must manifest your victory now, or your victory will be gone for ages rolling on and on. I have spoken, and God has spoken through me. It is the reflection of the solemnity of the council, and yet there is joy and mirth in us, for we hope there is worth in you. God bless you. God sustain you. God love you. Assert your independence, for your I am presence is your independence. Depend upon it, and let it depend on you. In this mutual relationship, such joy will come forth as to sweep the earth, and then this activity will flourish as a vehicle and instrument to God, and be absorbed in the end as a mighty activity of light into the great white brotherhood which gave it birth, with hope, with joy, with worth, with mirth. I thank you, and I say, Victory is my name.